Hi, welcome to Shop Talk. And today we're going to answer some questions that our followers here have. So, Tomas, what questions you got for me?
All right. The first one, because we listen. Michael Antonio asks, thanks, guys. I have a question. I will be getting my training by watching Doug's video, shorts, and others. There's a basic video with the stick that I plan to start with, but even that is challenging for a beginner. I wanted to ask, what very basic strikes or movements can I do with a blade or a stick in isolation repeatedly to then begin to link or connect together? I think that's an amazing question, and that's exactly what we're going to answer in this episode.
Well, I'm looking forward. Let's cut right into it.
All right. So for me, when I first began Filipino martial arts, something that really drew me to it was day one, they put a weapon in my hand. And I think that appeals to a lot of people is it goes in reverse. It starts with a weapon, then it goes to a blade, and then typically it goes into empty hand. So Doug, I have a stick here. I know nothing about Filipino martial arts. What do I do?
All right. First, let's talk about why a stick to begin with, because it's impact. Imagine if we go day one, we show up with a sword. We're going to learn to train today with a sword. And we go, whoa, 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 I don't even know what is it. So we start off with a less than lethal or impact weapon. Less than lethal, really? But here's the reason why. In Filipino martial arts, they call us stick fighters. I don't see sticks fighting each other, right? No, we use a stick because it's impact, it's safer, and it also allows us to really have a longevity in your training. Let me explain. We use rattan sticks. Rattan sticks are fibrous. So when they're fibrous, that means that they can get a lot of impact, right? When they hit, there's impact. And then when they have impact, the fibers absorb the impact. So we don't use hardwoods. Hardwoods are denser, heavier. If you get hit, it hurts. These you'll get a stick hickey, but it's not really meant to destroy you unless you really try to hit properly. Now, the use of the stick is because, number one, impact teaches you that in Filipino martial arts, in the old days, they used to hit each other, who'd come back to class with all the bruises. In Filipino martial arts, when they see stick hitting, that means I'm hitting your body. The guy is just feeding a stick instead of his hand or his head. So when you start looking at the training, it's the sticks that constantly get beat up, not your body. You can't trade blows with weapons, right? So that's one of the reasons we use sticks, because it's a safer thing and you can grow old with your art. We're not hitting bananas or weapons or anything else, because later on the body's going to deteriorate. You're going to have a lot of calluses, a lot of injuries, a lot of ripped ligaments, even your skin's going to be destroyed. This art grows old with you. How? You let the tool take the beating. So with that, the sticks are easily something that you can use as a representation of anything that you find in there. So I use a stick with different lengths, different kinds of sticks, so that you can adjust to it, because you never know what you can pick up around you. You never know. So you should be able to know the differences in lengths and train with it comfortably. Not all.
Hang on, Doug. Hang on. Can you hear me?
But
Okay, hang on. Can you hear me now?
still, there you go. Much better.
A little better? Okay,
Okay.
I'll ask you that.
Yeah.
Ask you that. Doug, I think that's a really
But if I do,
Huh?
I'm kidding. Gotcha. All right. Oh, you should put that in there too.
Yeah, I will. That was good. I'm all like, what? Okay. This All right, Doug Marcaida, we talked about having the blades. Obviously, that's probably going to scare off some people. So we certainly use the stick first. Now, for me, with my system being original Grown Eskrima, the one that I started with, typically you have Balintawak, which is definitely stick. You have Arnisi, all these things. For me, in my training, I fall back on the stick does symbolize the blade. Obviously, you have to pick your targets. But a good thing that has helped me is realizing that when you're holding a blade, these knuckles here line up with the edge. So you know where you're cutting. And that's what I'll have students do as well, is line this up so they know where the targeting is, so you're not hitting with like the back end of your wrist. And there's techniques that we'll get into with that. But typically, how to grip your stick, a little bit from the bottom. Some people have a lot with that puño if you're trapping, but if you're using a stick, I want as much reach as possible. So I'd say roughly 2 fingers, just enough. What are your thoughts on how to grip a stick?
when it comes to grip, number one, we do the same thing as when you're doing fencing, right? It's like a bird. You don't hold on to it too tight and stone fist it and you kill the bird, because that means you're tight in your motions. You don't use it too loose, where the bird flies away. You gotta be nice and relaxed. Now, thumb on there. You can't with thrust or cut, but with grip it. You tuck your fingers right on the side when you're using the stick. When we're using the stick for alignment, like you said, finger distance down here is important if I'm fighting equally and I have the time. Let me explain that. I call this the reactionary gap. This is the length that I have when I extend my arm that is from my tip to my opponent. Anything from this area to me means that it's going to get hit, right? The reason I do that is because the more you choke it to me, now if I go longer and longer and longer, I'm safer. Does that make sense? Because here's the idea when you're talking about impact and edge. When you train with edge, everybody backs away. It's an edge weapon. So anything from the tip to me can get cut, and just moving backward or slicing forward is going to cut you. With sticks, you can take impact. So the idea of also having a larger end here is because it lightens the stick, so you're faster because you're taking impact on the inside. But really, if you're very good with your striking, I like to go farther. So 2-finger distance here means it's longer for range, which is a carryover from the idea of a sword. I want as much distance from you when you have a sword. When it's impact, I can take impact. I can go in exchange with you. I can do close quarter hitting with a puño and striking and everything because it's an impact weapon. So there are different carryovers depending on sword for an edge.
All right, so we covered the grip. We got the intro. We know how to hold it relatively for what our mission is. Doug, take me. I know nothing. How do I swing this thing? Am I doing circles? Am I using it like a blow dart? What am I doing?
All right. So the first thing I look at is to let people know this is so hard and complicated. No, it's not. If you can say the oath that you're swinging and touch your belly button and go over here and point over here and bring it down to your belly button, you've already done it. You can do this. Why do I say this? Because when we start with, I'll use a shorter stick, you need to wind up all the way here to strike forward, and you bring it from the backhand to strike forward. Now, the wind up is basically only because I need power for that. Notice when I'm doing this, I also keep a shield over here so that you don't charge me when I'm winding up. So the idea there is to keep forward because in reality, I'm always thinking as 2 weapons. So here I may have my hand. Can the hand get hit? I know that. That's why it's like a guard or a counterbalance. But the idea here is a regular forward and backhand. It's just a forward strike and a backhand strike. And the reason why I drop my hand down here in the belly button is because, and for longer sticks, I will hit the ceiling. A lot of people are up here and they strike all the way up here. You see where my hands are? Number one, your hand is a target. So they're going to take your hand before you even get down there. And when they strike up here, now lowers my tip. Are you fighting someone who's 7 feet tall? No. If I learn to drop my hand and my tip is right on your eye, my tip is always leading me, not my hand leading to do that. Because the hands, we have a term in the Philippine martial arts called defanging the snake. Trust me, we'll cut your hands first. So you don't lead with your hand. You try to lead with the tip by dropping your hand. Now, the basic of this is simple. I swear to touch my belly button and I'll scratch my shoulder and I'll touch my belly button. So if you have that range of motion, then you should be able to do so with striking it this way. And the same idea to make this work is get a hammer. The hammer right here at the tip is your point of percussion, the point of impact. A lot of people, when they're striking, they look at their sticks. All of this destruction is right here in the middle of the stick. Your power, the speed, the crack of the whip comes from the tip in velocity. So a good way to train that is take a hammer and know where the tip of the hammer hits every single time. Forehand and backhand, forehand and backhand. Now, there are different schools that say, well, should I be this high, this side? So look at my hand, it's everywhere. My teacher always had us touch always a certain part of the back so that it always will be the same every time, because it's just like me sighting in my guns. Different systems will have different ways of where they're going to chamber for their own reasons. And I have my own reasons for what I do for my reasons. So it's a matter of just adjusting and understanding why you do what you do. But you should know what is it that you do and why do you do it that way.
Now we got the upper hands taken care of. Now, before we transition into the knife, how am I standing? Am I in like a jumping jack position? Am I taking a knee? What are my feet doing?
Initially, because it's hard for people to do upper body and legs. right? So I start off with having them just stay in front of a wall, right? Pick a point, pick a point on the wall all the time. This is my wall, and just do this: tap, 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 tap. And of course, with me, it's more dynamic. I'm always using my left hand, but same spot gets hit every time. Close quarter fighting, because this is like, especially close quarter systems, this is how they strike, very close to the wall. But then as you start to learn your distance, you start striking and extend your stick every time. To me, that is the preferred way. I like to keep my distance and work my way in. You know why? The hidden knife. We are so thinking I'm going to go in and chamber and grapple and everything else, and then the moment you get stabbed, people who know knives know that they're meant to be felt, not seen. So you have to respect that. And what if they go, well, he never had a knife to begin with? Good for you. That means you kept your distance, and you're probably safer by keeping your distance. So treat the stick like it was a sword, because the same idea comes out there. You see the stick and you don't keep your distance, you don't respect it. The minute he goes edge, oh, everybody have footwork. Where's everybody? Somebody fight when they see an edge, automatically they're afraid of it. Have that same respect for impact weapons, like you would do a stick. Footwork is what's going to get you out of that, because the target that you don't want to be is the target that stands there and gets shot. You want to be the target that moves around. Better yet, you want to be the target that moves around and fights back. And the best is, you want to be the target that was never there to begin with. Can't hurt me now. I'm not there, am I? See what I mean?
I love that. I'll also add on here that if you are left foot lead with your right hand, you will be shortening a little bit of your distance. So keep that in mind. So if you are right foot lead with the weapon in your right hand, you can, like a fencer, lunge a little bit more and get some of that distance on there. I'll throw that in as just a subtle tip.
So now that you're stationary and you've got your upper body working, and you know the distance that you have, right, to really keep the opponent away from you, then we start adding footwork. Now, the question is, right lead, left lead. All depends. In Filipino martial arts, we do both. Why? Same thing, right hand, left hand. Whatever I do with my right, I should do with my left. If I strike with my right, I strike with my left. Same way, I'm comfortable with that. Your footwork should be the same. I notice, though, that weapon hand, lead, leg gives you the range like fencers do. But the movement of the feet, am I linear? Am I shuffling my step forward like fencing does? Or am I able to run around and move around? That's more Filipino martial arts. That is why I am comfortable with my left lead and comfortable with my right lead every time. This is how I move. I don't walk this way. As a matter of fact, if we're going on a race and you start doing this shuffle step, I'll win by just simply running. So in training, I encourage you, and the Filipino martial arts systems are very much designed to do that. They really designed it with different triangle patterns, diamond patterns, W patterns, all that. It's forcing you to move and move with every possible motion that you could do and turn with your legs, because you can't stand there and trade blows with an edge. And you don't have the luxury sometimes to dictate which leg is going to be in front of you. Sometimes there's a wall here, I have to use my left. Sometimes a wall here, I have to move with my right arm, twisting out and moving around. Where's my blade, where I carry? So a lot of these things, really, you have to be able to train every possible way. There is no one set way. You can't box yourself in.
Well, speaking about cutting into boxes, most of us, at least practitioners, we carry a blade. How does a stick translate to a knife?
So a stick translates into a knife simply by your imagination. Just put an edge on it. So the way I hold the stick this way is the way I hold my blade. Now, the thing is, the stick is round in most Filipino martial art training systems. So hitting with a stick is not the same as hitting with a blade. Why? The stick does not have an edge. The stick is all about impact. So there are things that you can do, like a witik. This is a fan strike, right? These are circular strikes that you do. These are multiple strikes hitting with the tip with a stick, but it's a point of percussion where I'm hitting. Whereas with an edge, I'm trying to cut you with the edge. I'm trying to poke you and thrust you with that. It's not just impact. Yes, I can fan strike with the blade because it's a flat of the blade, especially on human face. You know, it'll work, but it's not made for that. And there is heavy weights on a particular blade, whereas the stick is much lighter. So what I found being on Forge and Fire is that my stick work did not translate all the time to blade work. I had to really study and start to find out that dragging an edge is about the cut. Learn to follow through with an edge is what you're trying to do. There are no multiple striking, although I did learn something that they call harassing strikes, meaning it's not about the decapitation or deep cuts. It's about harassing you with small rapiers while you're here, small tiny cuts that are very deep. You know, they're very deep, and then going for the kill. So it's an eye opener to understand that impact and edge are different, but they're both lethal, irregardless. Because you can't tell me that either if I hit you with a stick or even if I drag a strike with a stick, it's not going to hurt me. Or the same thing with this. If I get it with an impact with a weapon, it's metal that's slapping on you. That's also going to hurt.
Now let's transition to a fixed blade knife.
So the same thing. You start out here. Now I lead with my edge to cut forward. I lead with an edge to cut forward. It's the same thing with the blade, right? We still have the same. Now, obviously, long range, I lead with the edge to cut forward. Close range, I can cut closer. But the minute I change grip, it's like I'm holding a stick both ways. You have the stick this down here and here. That's why sometimes when we call it the puño part, this part here, even if I'm training it this way, I'm also training it this way. With like there was a knife here all the time. So we have it for hooking and doing that. So sometimes in my videos, they see me and they go, why so big a puño? Because really, I'm training this part. I don't have this. But why do I train it with this? Why don't I switch? Because this corrects my motion. Meaning, if I'm clean, if I am not clean with my motion, I'm doing some hooks, this will hit me. If I'm moving in here, this will hit me. I'll get hit with my own weapon here. So I have to be very clean with my hooks and everything else so that this tip awareness constantly teaches me how to be aware of everything. That's why they say, you know, can I translate boxing into empty hands into knives? Empty hands to knives? No, because they don't have edge awareness. You don't study edge awareness. Now, knives into empty hands are easy because we have edge awareness now. It's just that our edge is our impact of our arms. But I'm not going to get in my own way when I'm actually working my strikes.
That is a golden piece of information right there. I absolutely love that. And because this is our very first beginner series, how would I strike with empty hands? I have no tools around. I just escaped. How would I use these as weapons?
If I were using this as weapons, here's the one thing. Sorry, run. That's the number one thing. 911, run. You know, that's basically keep distance with your hands. Now, a lot of times your hands are their skin, unless you condition a lot, it's very hard. Even boxers. Think of Mike Tyson with that guy Green, right? They're fighting street fight. He punched him, broke his hand. Now, they train all the time. Our hands, when they're hitting impact, can also catch a lot of diseases. I know this firsthand. I'm not proud of it. In my older days, young, full of testosterone, got into a fight, punched somebody in the face. Within 24 hours, I was in the hospital getting IV because I had an infection in my hand. The mouth is the dirtiest part of the body, and you're going to catch diseases from that easily, right? Now, my teacher in one art told me, we don't strike with the fist, you slap. So a lot of our training that we're doing here, now I understand why he's always having this, because like you're trying to wring this out. You're like, this hurts my hand. Now get cloth and then wring it out. Because then all of a sudden, if you feel how hard this is and the cloth and you're wringing it out, all of a sudden you touch skin. Oh my gosh, I can rip this whole skin off. And the same token, I can slap enough to like, whoa, you see here, you have one fixed point of impact. Now, when you open up, you have a whole part of impact. And the whole thing also is, wow, you did not just slap him. That's more kind of insulting, isn't it? I just slapped the hell of that guy. No, but really, it's because that way, when you're slapping, your hands are more fluid and they don't break when you're doing that. So a lot of our empty hands for a lot of the slapping that they're doing, because it's basically to distract. Now, when you get closer, then a lot of elbows and forearms are used, as opposed to punching a face. We still do that, but really it's more about the elbows and forearms because these are bigger. This now is my stick. And that's why they call it the bolo punch, based on the bolo, right? They hit with that. I hit with my bone as opposed to my fist. Because see, my fist, it's padded. It's got also my wrist that makes it a hinge part. It's a failure point of strength. Whereas if I hit with my bone here, it's fixed. It's stronger. It's more denser when you're hitting. but it also requires close quarter fighting as opposed to long range with your fingers and slapping that you can do.
I like that. So that first initial one is bam, get away. It also looks good if someone's recording you like, hey, I told him to get back. Now he can't see you, right? The other one is being able to, theoretically, you can train this, but it's much stronger using your forearms here, double hand or even single hand. But you said a key point right there with the elbow. I love elbows. They're highly underrated. Being able to use those here. Now you have a back.
Well, in Muay Thai, they use it all the time because it's connected closer to your body. Because it's connected closer to your body, you're hitting with your body, you're hitting from the ground up. There's more power delivered when you're using elbows because it's close to your body, right? When I'm hitting with this, as opposed to reaching out, now it's weaker with the hand reaching out to strike. But boxers get away with it because they hit on impact all the time. So it's a matter of developing what you have. If I have to use my physical body, I have to develop it to be able to make it functional. But if you don't have the use of physical body, a sword. You don't need to train that. You don't need to condition anything else. This will do all the work for you.
I love it. Well, we do listen to the questions. So if you guys have more, drop them down in the comment section down below. We are here to answer them and give you guys these tutorials. And we're going to be starting a series. We're going to follow angle 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 12. We're not here to mess around. Doug Marcaida.
Take care, guys, and stay sharp.